Hi Kaiser Crafters, this is Collette. I'm fortunate to own a great craft shop in Hervey Bay, the Arts and Crafts Superstore. And I'd say at least once a week, especially during the holiday season, I meet people that come into the shop and are amazed at the scrapbook pages and cards that we have on display. They say to me that they would love to do a scrapbook album but really have no idea where to start. There are no classes or groups in their own local hometowns. I also meet people that have scrapbooked but have kind of lost their mojo, or have scrapper's block as we fondly call it. They'll often say to me that that will never happen to me, but you know it does. I will often sit down with a collection or with some photographs to scrap and nothing comes to mind. When that happens, I go back to my basics, and I thought today I would do this video just on those few basics that may get you started if you're new to scrapbooking, and may get your mojo back if you have scrapper's block at the moment. So let's get started. One of the things I really do love about Kaiser Craft is that they have these great collections, and they make it quite easy for us because we know that within the collection, whatever we use is all going to work and all going to blend. They have stickers, they have these great little collectibles which are little cutouts of various elements, and of course they've got a great range of papers. So this is going to make our work easy, but we don't start with the papers, we start with the photographs. Now today I've got these cute little photographs that I want to do a page on, and I've also chosen to use them on the Fly Free collection, which has got obviously a whole number of papers. So starting off, it's important for us to have a focal point. Our focal point, of course, will be a photograph, but when you look at these two here, they're both exactly the same, and they are competing for attention. So I need to just choose one of these as my focal, and I'm going to choose this one because my subject is bigger, and I'm going to treat that a little bit differently. Now I could use this paper because it's got the same colors that are in the photograph, but it's probably a little bit busy and a little bit floral, even though this handsome young guy, one of my cousin's sons, is wearing pink, and I think he looks absolutely gorgeous in it. I'm actually going to use a different paper, but if I did want to use this and it was one I had left in my collection, there's a couple of things I could do to tone down and to make this photograph stand out more than this one. The first thing would be to actually matte it. So I've got here some Kaiser card, and I've picked out some colours from that photograph, and I've just cut the two pieces of card slightly bigger, and now you can see that immediately out of the two pictures, this one here stands out a lot more. Now the other thing that you'll notice is that this one here, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot going on in the background. And one of the things that I like to do is to sand back my photograph, which will give it a really small white edge. And I will show you how I do that. Just whiz this up. What I tend to do is I move this to the side of my table, and I'll put my photograph right on that edge of the actual cutting board. I'm going to take my Kaiser Craft sanding block, and with a 45-degree angle I'm just going to sand that back, and I do like to get right into those corners. So you can see I have actually sanded that particular edge back, and you'll also notice that when I actually put this down on the page, it will actually give a bit more of a definition. So it gives a break between the busy photograph and the busy background. So sanding it does form that natural break, which helps to combat that competitiveness between the busy photograph and that busy background. Okay, so that's a couple of ways that we can give one photograph more prominence and give the photograph a break when using heavily patterned paper. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different base. I'm actually going to use this one here from the Fly Free collection. I think my photographs will look better. I could actually mat that quite happily, and that looks pretty good. And I could tuck this one a little bit behind, and I could see a page start to happen there. But I'm going to use these photographs, but I'm not going to use the cardboard mats. When I'm actually designing, one of the things that I like to do is to arrange my photographs. And what I've done is to take those two photographs that I had earlier, I've sanded them back, and I've made this second non-focal photograph a bit smaller. I've taken away that subject matter that really is not pertinent to these photographs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and put these down on my page. Now, where you place the photographs are quite important. You may tend to put them right in the middle. The problem with that is that it gives you all this space that you kind of need to fill up. So there is a good rule or guideline that you can follow, and that's what we call the rule of thirds. And that's actually breaking this page into thirds. Now I have an old piece of acetate that I use regularly, and I've just cut this to a 12 by 12 piece, and I would often take this out when I have a bit of scrapper's block, and I'll go back to these basic ground rules and I will build up my page on this acetate with my background behind. So taking these photographs here, I will put these down, but I'm going to put them down on one of the converging lines. This means that now I don't have all space to actually fill in. I've only got a little bit of space to kind of deal with on my page. So I'm happy with how they look there. I like the fact that this little guy is peeking out a little bit, and this one is straight, so it's adding a bit of interest. One of the things you do need to be careful of with your photographs, it doesn't refer or affect these ones, but if I had this photograph going on this page here, and I decided to pop it down on this converging area, it would be not the best place because he is looking off the page. I want all my attention to be drawn into the page, so by simply moving this little guy onto this converging area, immediately I'm being drawn into the page. So just remember to look at where your focus is with your actual photograph. So back to these guys here. So I'm having them about there. Now I'm going to want to add a little bit more interest. So from the other papers in this collection, I've got some of this lovely papers which again bring out some of these colours, and I might just pop this underneath. I like the fact that it's rugged, and you can see what I've actually done here is I've actually roughed up the edges, and this adds a bit of textural element. Instead of everything being flat, I've just got a distressing tool and rough the edges. If you don't have a distressing tool, open up your pair of scissors and then just run them back and forward until you get that kind of roughed look. So I'm going to pop that underneath my photographs. So these are still on that converging area. Quite happy with how that's looking. Now I want to add a little bit more, so I'm going to go into the collectibles now and start to embellish. So once I've arranged my photographs, I'm now working on the embellishment side. Now I've got some lovely things happening here, and when you add your embellishments, try and group them together rather than put one thing here, one thing there and one thing over there. So group them together. So in my collectibles I've got another bird here, and what I'd probably do is to pop him up on foam dots. I've got a flower here, so we might have the flower just kind of sitting there, and I've got some nice leaves in the collectibles. There'll be a bit of fun to kind of pop in. You might have this one behind, and again this one a little bit here. So although you can't see the dimension here yet, I know that I'm going to be adding dimension and making this just that little bit more interesting. So I've got a bit of dimension here. Let's continue this theme up here. Now, when you are using your embellishments, look for common themes. So I've got a tiny butterfly here, and in my collectibles there are some more butterflies. So what I might do is put some of these down here and have a bit of a collection, and I'm going to pop dot those up so they're going to be dimensional as well. You'll notice that I've got 3 butterflies that I'm going to add dimension to. When you're actually working with embellishments, it's always good to work in that golden ratio. So work with 1, work with 3, or work with 5, the odd numbers. So here I've got my 3 butterflies. Now, I've also got a great little embellishment here, and this will act as a nice title. I've got nothing to do today but smile, so I'd probably pop that up and overlap that for interest on the photograph there. Now I'd like to put something up in this quadrant because it's looking a little bit empty, and I kind of do like to fill in the pages a bit. So again, diving into those collectibles, I might pop this little guy down here, continuing the theme with the flowers. I might pop a flower there, and I've got this gorgeous tag which really sums up what I love about this little guy. You know, do what makes you happy. Just because you're not wearing a blue t-shirt makes you different, makes you fun, makes you unique, and I love that. So I'm going to pop that there. So I've got a little collection happening up there. Again, odd numbers 3. So just a couple more things I think will make this page happen. This was in the collectibles. I've got, again, nothing to do today but smile, so I'm reinforcing this title, and I might just put a little bit of that just down there, liking the fact that it goes beyond the boundaries here, and I might continue that just down there. So that to me is kind of going to be a great page to start off with. One of the other things that I like about this page is it has a sense of flow, and what we mean by that is that in the Western world we tend to go with that Z formation. We're looking from here, do what makes you happy, coming over here to the journaling and these photographs are main focus, and then coming back to the flowers and then the finishing. If you wanted to do some journaling, down here would be a great place to do that. So that page is good. And then what I would do is I'd simply lift off my template, and I would then put that to one side, start to lift these off and to pop these down. One of the other things I do like to do about the embellishments or dimension is I'll often add a bit of chipboard underneath my focal just to lift that up a little bit more. So adding that dimension wherever you can is going to add more interest to your page. One of the other things I like about my my rule of thirds acetate is that you can very quickly try your creative layout on a different page. So that's that same layout that I've just done on a different page. Doesn't look as good, but you know, sometimes it will surprise you to try them differently. So I'm happy with that, and I would then go ahead and stick that down. I just wanted to go back to one of the layouts I've actually done following these basic rules here, and it's using one of the other collections we've got this month, and that's the Little Ones, which is just such a gorgeous collection. I know I'm going to have the best fun with it. This is a beautiful, beautiful little baby, and she is adorned in pink. And what I have done is I have taken my rule of thirds and applied those rules here. So she is down in this area here with the mats and a bit of background paper. Again, she has been sanded. Again, that just gives a bit of dimension, a little bit of element to the photograph. And you can see here I've got a nice straight piece of complementary pink. And then I've added some pearls and some lace. This is just for some added texture. And then I've slipped half a little doily, one of the Kaisercraft doilies in there. Down at the bottom, I've started to embellish my page, and I've done that with this little banner here, which is popped up again. And I've got a little group, again working with that golden ratio, 3 lovely little flowers, and then I've added a little heart that I just put a bit of Kinderglitz around. When I do my flowers, I tend to cut off the actual vine, pop my flowers down, and I twiddle my vine so I can just poke them into wherever I want them to go, so I have no restrictions. Now I did want to add some more interest and some more softness to this page, and I've gone ahead and die cut this beautiful die, which I must confess that I did kind of overlook at first, but I think it's probably up there in one of my favourites. It's such a versatile die, and it's the damask die from Kaisercraft. Adds a lovely bit of softness. Then continuing my theme, you'll see this a lot on my pages. I tend to roll back the edges, and what I often do is I will steal a little square of the background paper, and then I will just use that to stick behind this corner here, and then I can roll my original page on top. This one I've added an extra sheet in, so I've got a double roll just to be a bit more interesting. So continuing with our basic ground rules, I've got another group of embellishments happening up here. Now, when you look at the original paper for this was all very blue, and I've simply stuck from the collectibles some more pink flags on top of the original one to try and keep it nice and soft. I've continued with the balloons, trying to hide as much of this blue one as possible by overlapping it with a pink one, and the same here, and some little clouds adding dimension. And then just to finish off the page, again a little bit more texture, I've just added some tiny, one's come off there, some tiny little little pearl diamantes, and a lovely little border down there at the end. And again, when you look at the pearls, you'll see they're actually following that golden ratio. I either have 3 or I either have 5. And then just to ground that page, that's a new word, I haven't told you about grounding. It's something that often is missing and makes a big difference, I think. I have simply taken a sticker and I've put it right across the page. That links this whole page together and gives the impression that things aren't just sitting there floating in the middle. Now, the other thing I have done is I've taken a marker and I have actually just gone down the edge. It's very fine, very subtle, but it just again helps to ground and bring that whole page in. So there you have it, a couple of pages, couple of guidelines, and they are guidelines. So the guidelines are taking your photographs, that's your start point, and then once you've got those, going into your shop with lots of enthusiasm with your photographs, and then choosing one of the beautiful Kaiser paper collections that's going to complement either the colour or the theme of your photographs. Once you've got that, you can then come home and start to play. Arrange your photographs, remembering the rule of thirds, remembering to converge your photographs on the converging line with the rule of thirds. Remember to sand the edges if you want to, or to matte, so you don't have busy photographs competing with busy background papers. Remembering as well, looking at where your subject matter is looking. This page would not be as nice if this was on the other side. She would be taking us away from the page rather than getting us to look into the page. So once we've arranged our photographs, we then start to embellish. We add mats and papers, we add textures, pearls, and we group things together nicely. We add different shapes, we add rolled elements if necessary, and again grouping, adding lots of dimension. Lastly, just the last two things, looking at our flow, our Z line, how is that looking, and our final, is my page grounded? So I hope that those few little things will encourage you to start scrapbooking. It is so much fun, it is so relaxing, and if you can do it with a family member, even better. You'll have the best time talking about the memory behind the scrapping. If you are a scrapbooker, I hope that you found a couple of little things in those ground rules that will help you get those papers out and give you that mojo back again. So that's really all I have to say, except that scrapbooking can be as creative and artistic as you want it to be. It can be as plain and simple as you want it to be. Remember that with any art, there are no rules. Rules are there not to be bound by, so you have fun and enjoy. Thank you. My name's Collette. I've enjoyed talking to you today. Until next time. Bye for now.